As the world waits with bated breath to see if the ceasefire between Israel and Iran holds, what might slip under the radar but not here is that Russia has begun mass production of the Oreshnik. This out of Defense Security Asia. Oreshnik Hypersonic Missile enters mass production amid NATO escalation. The Oreshnik represents a new generation of solid-fuel mobile-launched hypersonic and intermediate-range ballistic missiles with a published range of 1 to 5,500 kilometers, placing nearly all of NATO's forward-deployed forces, key infrastructure, and political capitals within its reach. For those of you who don't recall what the Oreshnik missile is, this is the result of the Oreshnik. It's a hypersonic, multiple independent reentry vehicle launched submunition capable missile, able to release at least 36 independent submunitions. As we get back to the story, after everything we've seen over the last few weeks with all the missiles launched from Iran into Israel, the capability of defense systems of stopping these is very questionable. But I'm going to read a little bit of the story here. Russia has announced a major escalation in its hypersonic weapons program with a full-scale production of the Oreshnik intermediate-range ballistic missile, a missile capable of Mach 10 that experts warn could upend strategic balances in Europe. President Vladimir Putin, speaking at a graduation ceremony for cadets, confirmed the serial production of the Oreshnik missile is now underway following what he described as a successful real-world combat use in Ukraine. Quote, the serial production of the latest medium-range missile complex Oreshnik, which has proven itself very well in combat conditions, is underway, Putin stated in nationally televised remarks, signaling a clear pivot in Russia's industrial trajectory. And as you can see here, this is video captured from the launch of the Oreshnik in Russia on the date. And again, this is what happens. These multiple independent reentry vehicles, each one coming in at between Mach 5 and Mach 10. Nobody really knows the exact speed yet. I'm sure some people do in the intelligence agency, but we certainly do not. At Mach 10, 10 times the speed of sound, the Oreshnik is designed to evade interception by Western missile defense systems through advanced mid-course maneuverability and low radar cross-section traits which position it squarely within the top echelon of next-generation strike platforms. According to Russian state sources, the missile carries multiple independent targetable reentry vehicles, making it capable of delivering both nuclear and conventional payloads across a wide array of targets. The September 2024 strike on Dnipro reportedly demonstrated not only the missile's ability to penetrate Ukraine's airspace, but its ability to deliver submunitions with high precision. 36 inert submunitions were deployed to simulate multi-impact scenario against hardened defense nodes. Inert. They could have been explosive, but they were just simply inert. Or they could be tungsten rods. This is an article out of Popular Science. It's from 2024. It's called Rods from God. And as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, the rods from God theory is that there's satellites in orbit with large telephone pole-sized tungsten rods. But this article points out that that isn't actually the most efficient way of doing it. I'm not going to go into the whole article, but I will go into just this portion right here. A better solution, Pike argues, is to pursue the original concept, place the rods atop an intercontinental ballistic missile, which would slow down enough during the downward part of the trajectory to avoid vaporizing on impact. ICBMs would also be less expensive, and since they're stationed on Earth, would take less time to reach their targets. The space-basing people seem to understand the downside of space weapons, Pike said, among them high costs and difficulty of maintaining weapons platforms. And the orbit matters. if you're in the wrong orbit, it takes time to move that orbit. In this article from Popular Science, again, everything will be in this, linked in this article. It points out that it's just more efficient, cheaper, easier, better protected to just put these on an ICBM and have them come in at a certain speed. And when he mentions the vaporization of the actual impactor, there's a great Chinese article. I linked it in a video I did months ago regarding the subject, that if it goes too fast, it'll simply vaporize on impact and have no effect whatsoever. One of the things I want to point out in regards to this video here of the actual impacts is please pay attention to all the lights in the foreground. Those are all cars and car alarms. As you can see, everything starts flashing. Everything starts flashing. Everything starts flashing. Just the seismic repercussions of this are huge. Now, I want to go to a part of a video from Millennium 7. Great channel. Be sure that you go to his channel and subscribe. Check out his videos. He's awesome. But he goes through what the actual impact of the Oreshnik is on a strategic and tactical basis, and it is quite incredible.
And the warhead falling at Mach 10, even if it doesn't maneuver much, is surely beyond the engagement parameters of the Patriot or the Aster 30. Maybe if the system is used to attack specifically the Patriot battery or the Aster battery, then they can hit some of the warheads, but otherwise I really doubt that they can protect anything that is more than a few kilometers far from the battery, if they can, because that's not a given. However, this missile is surely within the interception parameter of the SM-3 and the THAAD. But with 36 warheads and probably some more decoys, you just need one to deplete all the interceptors of a battery and then launch a second missiles that will hit the target. And as I said before, we know that the Russians have very sophisticated active decoys that are already using with ballistic missiles, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some even in this case. In a recent video inspired by the events in the Middle East and the growing tension in the Western Pacific, we discussed how many ballistic missiles may be necessary to disable a large airbase. We discussed a scenario in which Misawa, a US Air Force base in Japan, comes under attack from the Chinese. It was an interesting video and I suggest you to have a look. However, the result of that analysis was that you may need well over 100 missiles to disable a large airbase like Misawa, for example. And you need that many even if the base is not protected by anti-ballistic systems. Large airbases are hard and big targets with simply a lot of things to hit. And if the base is defended, you may need twice as many missiles because the first wave will be needed to deplete the defending battery and the second wave will do the job. So, in the light of this consideration, do you realize what the Russians have just done? The Russians have just reduced these few hundreds of missiles to 4 or 5.
To 4 or 5. How do they do that? With the Oreshnik. With the submunitions. One missile launches 6 independently targetable reentry vehicles. Each one of those carries 6 submunitions, either high explosive, tungsten rods, or you could even have micronuclear missiles, nuclear weapons, small. We know how small that some of these have been made into. Briefcase size is what we've been told, and smaller. I'm sure there's a nuclear hand grenade in somebody's design. How does this reflect upon the United States? We have a great threat that we are facing on a naval front, on a land-based front. This technology is sure to be distributed among Russia's allies. This is the missiles of North Korea. This is from csis.org, and it just goes through the North Korean missiles. This is a chart. It just shows the North Korean missiles and what their ranges are. And we know that the alliance between North Korea and Russia is quite strong. 10,000 North Korean troops are fighting on the Ukrainian front. We've seen confirmed photographs of North Korean artillery pieces being used by the Russians. So this technology, which is game-changing, could very well fall into the hands of other actors. This is from the New York Times. North Korea says it tested multiple-warhead missile technology. The announcement coming days after Vladimir Putin's visit to Pyongyang suggests an ambitious attempt to upgrade North Korea's nuclear arsenal. If they can MIRV, and they have this technology, there would be no reason for them not to incorporate it, which would be a game changer, which would be an absolute game changer. That doesn't even go into China. China could incorporate this immediately. Their DF-21 carrier killer missiles could incorporate this immediately. The DF-21 is conventionally armed DF-21 variant designed to attack ships at sea, sometimes dubbed the carrier killer. U.S. reports suggest a range of 1,450 to 1,550 kilometers. Similar to the DF-21B, the warhead is likely maneuverable and may have an accuracy of 20 CEP. Highly accurate. The missile entered service in 2006 along with DF-21C. In 2013, the missile was tested against a ship target that was roughly the same size as a contemporary United States aircraft carrier. And I'm going to be doing a video here in the near future of an Air Force general going through this very specifically, where he shows satellite images of their targeting aircraft carrier targets, destroyers, the Taiwan International Airport out in the Gobi Desert, and using missiles like this. Now, you incorporate MIRVing with submunitions, and it's not just a carrier attacking. It's pretty much an entire fleet. And as we've seen recently, not every missile gets stopped. Some of them get through, right next to air defense systems. I mean, this is important video. This is important video. This is the strike of what appears to be an Iranian hypersonic getting through the defenses. You can see in the background standard missiles falling, and that one getting through. There's other strikes on this. There's so much video on this. It's insane. This has been a well-documented war, unfortunately. This is reportedly a strike on the Israeli defense headquarters with a hypersonic. And as you can see, the defense missiles have fired in the background. This video, we're going to go back just a moment into his video so I can show you this map. This map right here. All those pinpricks are confirmed strikes. This is the video of that strike. And these are not the hypersonic missiles. This is Israel. So missiles are going to get through. Now you launch these off of an ICBM. Tungsten rods even. They don't have to have high explosives. The kinetic energy from a Mach 5, Mach 7, Mach 10 direct hit is the equivalent of explosives. We need to reconsider our defenses. Can directed energy weapons solve this? I don't know. I think that you see what we've seen in Israel shows us that it's the missile. There will always be a missile that gets through. And now you combine that with the drone technology of the Shahed 136 and other drones like the Spike and TRB-2, the loitering munitions, the high altitude, you name it. Defenses have to change. The United States has to harden its infrastructure, hardened aircraft shelters, hardened command and control, hardened infrastructure. The United States also needs to really dedicate a lot of time, money, and energy into directed energy weapons. Because although hypersonic is incredibly fast, it isn't quite as fast as the speed of light. And we need to find a way to make this happen. But the Oreshnik hypersonic missile entering mass production. This is something that the West, the United States, needs to take seriously. We know its capability. We know that it's out there. We know that it's very accurate and very effective. The birth of intercontinental warfare is here. In order to take the enemy ground, you're still going to have to send boots on the ground. But continental and intercontinental warfare is most definitely here. And the Oreshnik is so far one of the latest and most frightening weapons in that strategic development. If you liked the video, I hope you hit like, subscribe, share it with a friend, let them know. The Oreshnik, what we saw last year in 2024, well, it may be coming to an oligarchy near you. Thank you. I appreciate you.